So I like to start here is to master social media, we must go back in human history to unlock an ancient and fundamental truth of human behavior, which is storytelling. Historian Yuval Noah Harari, the author of *Sapiens*, says that storytelling is the defining advantage of Homo sapiens. It's how we built tribes, cultures, and entire civilizations. And research also shows that early humans that told better stories built more successful communities. Why? Because story is how we process information as humans, how we build trust, how we drive action. So if you want to succeed in anything, you want to succeed in business, social media, in influence, you need a powerful story. So that's why today we're going to cover a brief history of story. Now, I don't know how many of you are history nerds, but I love it. But I promise I'll keep it super short if you don't like history. But it'll drive a lot of value because we want to see how storytelling has always been used to connect, persuade, and build culture. Then we're going to dive into why does content go viral? Why do some stories break through? But just as important and almost more important, why do things fail to break through? Because that's where we learn. And then we're going to talk about the format effect and why how you structure your story matters just as much as the story itself. And then finally, we're going to talk about the psychology of virality, the psychology of telling stories that break through, the data, the brain science, the behavioral triggers that power scalable impact. So I always like to start out with a fun little quiz, and for those of you that were on Saturday, please don't cheat and reveal the answer. But I have a question for you. When was the first story ever told? Was it A, 2,000 years ago, B, 5,000 years ago, or C, 10,000 years ago? So raise your hand if you think it's A. Nobody? Okay. B and C. Okay, so everybody thinks it's C. So here's the twist. It was 50,000 years ago. It's a little bit of a trick to make sure you guys are paying attention. But that's back in the Ice Age, where we had woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. Those were the first stories ever told. They were told around campfires. And this wasn't for entertainment. These weren't fairy tales. These stories were built for survival. How to hunt, what to fear, what to believe. So we talk about storytelling as a tool for influence, but in reality, we're talking about a biological blueprint that has helped us survive, connect, and thrive for tens of thousands of years. So which brings us to a larger question. What exactly is a story? Because we talk about story all the time, but if you actually just sat down and tried to define it, so let's do that right now. A story is a structure. It's how we make sense of the world, and it has 4 key elements to it. There is a setup, then there is a problem, there is an attempt to resolve that problem, and then there's a resolution. That is the arc that gives story meaning. Now, the fascinating thing is story is 22 times more memorable than facts alone. Story is how we connect, how we remember. So let me show you how this has actually played out over time. Because storytelling just hasn't evolved, it's actually evolved alongside human progress. So as I mentioned, 50,000 years ago, we had the invention of oral storytelling around campfires. Then 40,000 years ago, we have cave paintings. So this is the origins of visual storytelling. And then 6,000 years ago, we have ancient art of the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans. And then as we fast forward, storytelling starts to evolve with each major media shift. So 4,000 years ago, it's theatrical storytelling through stage plays. We have comedies, tragedies, dramas. And then we have the invention of the printing press about 565 years ago, which is the birth of scalable storytelling. Then 135 years ago, we have film, where storytelling becomes emotional and immersive. Then 100 years ago, we have radio and television. This becomes the dominant driving cultural conversation. Then about 30-ish years ago, we have the internet, where anyone can publish, where the audience now becomes the storyteller. And then today, we have social media and mobile storytelling. Shorter, faster, sharper. Literally, all of you in this room have the power in your pocket with a mobile device that has infinite storytelling possibilities. So the tools have evolved, but the power of storytelling stays the same. So I really want this to sink in. As we have looked at the course of history, stories have literally built everything that we see around us today. Everything that you look at is built by a story. Stories built trust. It shaped religions and governments. And now we literally have that power to build anything that we want. Can build our brand, share our message, can build our company, whatever it is we want to achieve. Story is how we get people to believe in something bigger and to act on it. Now, the interesting thing is that I get approached by people all around the world that want to work with us. And when I ask them, like, what are you struggling with social media? And they're like, Brendan, like, I don't understand this. It's a black box. It's a mystery. You know, I have to play the lottery, or I have to know the details of the algorithms, or I have to pay for ads. And even, I don't know where Jadeep from Mind Valley's here. He's like, get up and do the dance. There he is, trying to get me to do the TikTok dance, the chicken banana dance. That's what it's called. But it's none of those things. It's none of those things. It's history repeating itself. All you need to do is to master storytelling. So I want you to kind of just push everything aside that you've learned, all the tactics and the hacks and all those things. Let's just focus on how we can become the best storytellers today. So what actually powers storytelling? It's format. So what is a format? A format is a structure that is used to stop, hold attention, and move people to act. So think about it this way. If story is your soul, then the format is the skeleton. How many of you have seen the show Shark Tank? Raise your hands. So Shark Tank's a show where a business person walks into a room, and there's a bunch of billionaires that are called sharks that are investors. And there's 4 key ingredients to that format, to that structure. The entrepreneur walks in, they pitch their business, and then there's tension built. You know, the sharks, the investors, grill the person with questions. What's your profit margin? What's your scalability? How much money did you raise? And then finally, there's a resolution. They either walk away with a deal, with an investment, or no deal. That structure is what makes that show work. It's because it's repeatable. It's why people come back. So a format, what it does for you is it makes your message recognizable, repeatable, and most importantly, scalable. So formats are structure of your story in a way that our brain can comprehend, connect with. So I've been in the space for over 20 years. I started in social media in 2005. I've tested and seen everything. I've tried everything. I've worked with major corporations like MTV, Viacom, and Paramount, to people like Taylor Swift and Rihanna, to solopreneurs just starting from scratch. And I believe so much in this is that I built a company called HookPoint, where we have a team of researchers that have spent 15,000 hours researching over 500 storytelling formats. We literally have a team of researchers that are finding new formats every single day. And the reason we do this is we want to find the right fit for the right person, because each person has a unique story to tell. And this model that we've built has been leveraged to generate 60 billion views, 100 million followers, and $1 billion in revenue for our clients. And one of the things that we've learned in all of this research is that viral formats, they're not brand new. Nothing that we see in social media is brand new. It's a remix of a structure in history. So let's look at a few examples. So most of you have probably seen this format on social media. It's called Man on the Street, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The person on camera approaches a random stranger, interacts with them, and a story unfolds. So we're going to look at 2 examples in completely different industries. We're going to look at the first video, School of Hard Knocks, which is entrepreneurship, and then the next one is Body by Mark, which is fitness and nutrition. So let's watch the first one together by School of Hard Knocks.
Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million? What is this for?
I started the biggest social media business channel in the entire world where I interview millionaires and billionaires on their advice to the younger generation. What did you do to become wealthy?
What did I do? I've owned 4 or 5 companies.
What was your main business?
Now I'm in private equity.
Now you're in private equity.
Right.
What's the most amount of money you made in a single year?
I don't know if I want to be on that.
I'll show you the channel after. I promise you it'll be worth it.
It's a few $100 million. I mean, it wasn't a big company.
A few $100 million.
So listen, I gotta go.
Last two.
Sorry.
Among the most successful people that you've met throughout your career, what do they all have in common?
Whether you're a billionaire or millionaire, most guys that get into that status are willing to take risks. That's the bottom.
Were you a big risk taker?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was the biggest risk you took that maybe a lot of people were telling you not?
My second deal, I leveraged my house, everything, to buy the company.
You put everything.
So that video generated 16 million views. This account has generated over 1 billion views and has 500 videos with over 1 million views and built an audience of 13 million people. But let's watch another example of this format in a completely different industry with Body by Mark that approaches fit people on the street and asks them, what is your fitness routine? What is your diet?
I ask people who are really fit what they do for their workouts.
No comment.
You're jacked.
Oh, thank you.
Do you mind taking me through your week?
What do you want?
I do a social media series. It's called Body by Mark. And I ask people from all over the country what they do for their workouts who are in great shape.
Thank you. I do very basic, 6 days a week, push, pull legs, and repeat, and a day off.
Now take me through your diet. You're massive.
I'm not that big. Thank you.
You're big. You're big. Your arms are huge.
Well, I eat 5 meals a day. I mix it up. Basics: beef, chicken, rice, sweet potatoes.
So that video generated 36 million views. So when we look at this format, it's relatively simple. It's real people, real reactions, and your audience's attention. Now, the reason that I wanted to show 2 examples is any format that we research or we dive deep into can be used for any industry or sector. So when you look at a format on social media, even if it's talking about a specific subject matter, doesn't mean it can be used for other things. So again, we saw entrepreneurship here. This is used for fitness and nutrition. I have a client that built an audience of 20 million people as a professional photographer. Chefs use this. So just know that formats are just the structure and you can insert your message into. Now, I want to ask you guys a fun little question. And again, if somebody was here on Saturday, don't answer it. When do you think, and I want some people to actually shout out the answer, when do you think this format was first used? Does anybody have a guess? Louder. No, not the industry, the date, the year. What was the year? 70s? I have 50,000 years ago, okay? Okay, so the first time this format was used was 70 years ago for the first season of The Tonight Show in 1954 with the host Steve Allen. So let's watch Steve Allen using this format decades before social media even existed.
If a person running for the United States presidency were to go on TV and admitted heterosexual, could you vote for that person?
Heterosexual?
No, not heterosexual. Heterosexual.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
You have to think about it. Well, you got all the time in the world. Thank you, Josephine. If a man or a woman were running for the presidency of the United States, and that person was an admitted heterosexual, speak truly, no jokes, could you vote for him or her?
I vote for her.
Vote for her, but not for him.
Not for him.
Okay, thank you. An admitted heterosexual. Thank you good for you.
So obviously, it's a little bit different today. It's vertical, it's quick, and built for the algorithm. But what made it work then makes it work today. You see, formats are timeless. So this one thrived for 7 decades. It started on radio, then it went to television, and now it's leveraged for social media to generate billions and billions of views. So this isn't luck. This isn't the lottery. This is history repeating itself. So let's take a look at another one. So this one I'm sure you guys have seen too. It's called 2 Characters, 1 Light Bulb. And it's where one person plays 2 different characters and they break down a common misconception or a myth about their industry or sector or a poignant comment about, culture or something. So this is used for nutrition, taxes, legal, every industry or sector. But the first time this one was used was in the 1920s by a comedian named Buster Keaton. He was kind of like the Will Ferrell back then. But then it was used by Saturday Night Live, The Nutty Professor, and one of my favorite movies, Austin Powers. How many of you guys have seen Austin Powers? Okay, so in Austin Powers, we're going to watch a clip, The actor is Mike Myers, and he's playing both Austin Powers and Dr. Evil.
I've got you now, Dr. Evil.
Well done, Mr. Powers. We're not so different, you and I. However, isn't it ironic that the very things that you stand for, free love, swinging, parties, are all now in the 90s considered to be evil?
So that's Austin Powers using this. Was in 1997. Now, let's look at somebody on social media using this. This is Mark Tilbury, amazing guy, teaches finance, built an audience of 15 million people on social media.
Hey, can I buy a car?
Sure, that'll be $50,000.
I can get the same car from the dealership down the road for 45k. Can you match that?
Well, sir, how are you planning on paying?
Well, I haven't actually decided yet.
Okay, I'll have to go and speak to my manager.
Oh, that old tactic. You know exactly how much money you can accept. I know your secrets.
Okay, you've got the deal. How am I ever going to make any money when everyone follows Mark Tilbury?
So this video generated 27 million views. He's built an audience of 15 million people. So when it's done right, leveraging contrast, payoff, and repeatability, these are three ingredients that audiences and algorithms love. So let's take a look at some more formats. So this one is from our client of ours, Tanner Leatherstein, a fascinating guy. At the age of 11, he created his first leather jacket. He just absolutely fell in love with the craftsmanship of creating leather goods. And when he came to us, he had built a company called Pagai that sells leather briefcases, wallets, purses, belts, things of that nature. But he was struggling on social media. He was stuck at 2,000 followers and he couldn't figure out what he was doing wrong. So the thing he was doing wrong when he came to us is he's just creating ads. He's just trying to promote his content through his organic social media. He didn't know what a format was. So we helped him design a format called Is It Worth It? Where he takes $3,000 Chanel handbags, very expensive leather goods, deconstructs it on screen, and tells you whether it's worth the money that you pay for it. So let's look at an example of Tanner Leatherstein using the Is It Worth It format.
Coach leather bags, are they worth it? I went to the Coach store yesterday, and this was the bag I loved the most. Sales associate told me this was made out of glow tan leather, and the inside was suede. But I have my doubts. And as we can see, this is all fabric, not suede. In my opinion, about 6 feet of leather to put this bag together, about $5 a foot, $30 for the leather. Insanely good brass accessories, they used a lot of them. With the fabric, I give it another $30, so $60 in materials, and in my estimate, about $70 should be enough to put this bag together. In total, $130 for the materials and labor. I paid $450, doesn't sound like a bad deal. I love the leather, the feel and look of it. I hate that I was told inside was suede and it's fabric, and they used PU leather for the story patch inside. I wish it was real leather.
So this video generated 18 million views, but this single format took him from 2,000 followers to 2.5 million. He has 94 videos with over 1 million views and 16 videos over 4 million views. This format's wildly entertaining and radically transparent. Because this format is repeatable, he became an industry leader. I was doing a VIP session with Tanner in London, and he was telling me how he got invited to Hong Kong in this closed-door meeting with all the heads of the leather industry. He had no idea why he was there, but he wanted to be there because literally CEOs of billion-dollar companies showed up to this thing. And then he realized they all started looking at him. And they're like, Tanner, what are you doing? How are you having so much success? We need your help. Our industry is suffering because fake leather and knockoff leather is destroying our credibility in industry. That's the power of a format. It can take a leather craftsman to an industry leader. And the amazing thing is when Tanner first came to us, he didn't even feel comfortable being on camera. But because we found a format that really structured his genius, that he felt authentic and comfortable with, he had this level of success. So let's look at another example. This is another client of ours, an amazing guy, Corey Warren. He's a recovering addict, and through that experience of going through that process, he really wanted to help people around the world. He wanted to turn the complex topic of addiction and mental health into something that people could feel, they could see, share, and really get inspired by. So we matched him with a format called the visual metaphor format. So this visual metaphor format has 3 key ingredients. There is a visual there is an abstract or complex topic, then there is a visual representation of that topic with physical objects, and then there's a verbal explanation of the topic. So let's look at Corey Warren using the visual metaphor format.
This is what nobody wants to talk about with alcohol. My name's Corey. I'm an alcoholic. And for the longest time, I thought that alcohol was my problem. I thought that if I could just put the alcohol down, everything would be okay. What I realized is that alcohol is not my problem. Alcohol is my solution. When I had a bad day, alcohol was my solution. My wife and I were fighting, alcohol was my solution. If I couldn't pay my bills, alcohol was my solution. See, alcohol was never the problem. The problem was I didn't know how to handle my life. So once I put the alcohol down and all that alcohol got up out of my cup, I could finally start to focus on me. And once I started focusing on the problem, I no longer needed the alcohol. If you want to quit drinking, hit me up. I'll do it with you.
So that video generated 77 million views across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube combined. Just imagine the power and the impact that you could have if 77 million people could hear that. And if you look at him, that video is grainy. He's shooting it in his kitchen on an iPhone. He doesn't have great lighting. It's the story that he's telling. That is the power of format. So now we have gone through some examples of formats. Now let's talk about the algorithm, because I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. I want to start with what the algorithm is not. The algorithm is not there to suppress your reach on purpose to get you to boost posts and pay for ads. If that were the case, then Mr. Beast would not be the most subscribed person on YouTube. It would be Disney, Apple, Fox, or Netflix, the companies that invest billions and billions of dollars. The literal truth is, all of you here are the fuel that runs these platforms. Without us creating content, they have no business. This is not like Netflix and Disney where they're investing billions of dollars. So the algorithm has one fundamental goal. That is to keep people on the platforms longer so they can serve more ads and generate more profit. That is how their business works. So they want us to succeed. They're not shadow banning you. 99% of people that come up to me, I'm being shadow banned. No, you're not. You're not being suppressed, so you have to boost posts. That's not the case. This is all about retention, keeping people's eyeballs and attention so they can serve more ads. So think about it this way. Social media, there's now 5.4 billion people across social media platforms. There's over 1 billion pieces of content uploaded to social media every day. It's literally survival of the fittest for the best storytellers. So if you think about your core customer that you're trying to reach today, and you think about them opening the app that you're trying to reach them on, and it doesn't matter whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, there's probably 150,000 pieces of content the algorithm could see to them based upon the people they follow and the content they've engaged with. So you're no longer in a world where you're just competing against your direct competition. You're competing against Netflix, Kim Kardashian, Kevin Hart, that pesky teenager down the street doing TikTok dance videos. So in 20 years of doing this, the reality is you can't succeed without a format. You need to have that structure. And that is why I've invested millions of dollars in a team to do 15,000 hours of research so that we can match people with their ideal format. We take it very personally and go very deep, because I hate seeing people feel pressure that they see something go viral and they're like, oh, this is going viral. I don't like this. I don't connect with this, but I'm going to do it because somebody else either told me to do it because that person's going to make it work. There are thousands of possibilities out there for you. So we created this hook point viral blueprint as a reminder. This would be a good one to take a screenshot of. And this is based upon what algorithms and audiences want. So format is designed to build retention. It's what the algorithm wants because it wants to serve more ads. So when it sees retention, it releases it to millions of people. And then the result is connection, followers, influence, sales, leads, whatever you're going after. And this model works across any industry. It doesn't matter if you're in finance, legal, nutrition, you're a coach, any industry, it works. However, this is where I see 99% of people going wrong. They will look at a viral video on a surface level, like we just saw a man on the street. Pretty simple. I walk up to a random stranger on the street, engage with them, and it's going to go viral. If you stop there, I guarantee you're going to fail. Because you need to understand how and why it works. What's the reason that that format is breaking through? Because most of the time, you're only being served up the winners. You're not seeing, it's like the tip of the iceberg analogy. You guys know that analogy where you only see the tip of the iceberg and 99% is below the water? Well, that's the same thing with viral formats. 99% of people that try viral formats will fail at it because they don't have this next step, but I've got you covered. So we built a proprietary system. It's an analysis system. It's called gold, silver, and bronze. So basically, we take a format like man on the streets or 2 characters, 1 light bulb or visual metaphor, and what we do is we look at the gold videos. These are the ones that break through, that generate millions and millions of views. But we don't stop there. Then we look at the silver, which is kind of the average number of views it generates. But most importantly, we actually sit there and look at the underperformers, the ones that don't break through. So we do something, it's called qualitative analysis. So we look at the high performers, the gold, versus the low performers, the bronze. And when we do this process, we spend anywhere between 15 to 25 hours with a single format, going back and forth, comparing high performers, low performers, high performers, low performers. So we can pinpoint exactly what is causing it to work versus when it causes it not to work. So let's look at it. Let's do it in a real-world example, because it's very easy for me to just sit here and talk about it. But I want to show you this in action. So this is another format called How Do You Know? And it takes big, abstract ideas, relationships, career, anxiety, and makes them feel deeply personal. And it breaks it down into, it's a 3-step simple setup, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to show you this format, because it's a low barrier of entry for anybody to start. But first, you're just talking directly into the camera. Number 2, it's on your phone, it's on your iPhone, and it's low production on purpose, because it's meant to feel like a FaceTime call from a friend. And then you're sharing one thought-provoking idea. So we're gonna watch an example of the How Do You Know format from Julian de Medeiros, who's a digital philosopher and university lecturer.
Here's how you know it's true love, like potentially the love of your life. And this is a simple rule from the philosopher Nietzsche, who basically argued that love is the highest form of friendship. Or, in his words, what makes most relationships fail is not a lack of love, it is a lack of friendship. And to cultivate friendship and love means finding somebody who makes you smile, who makes you laugh, but above all, who makes you feel safe. It's like George Eliot, who wrote that it is, quote, the inexpressible comfort of feeling safe with a person. And when you feel safe, you can be your most authentic, childlike, joyful self. You bring out the best in each other. It's like Dr. Seuss, who wrote that life is weird, everyone is a little weird. And when 2 people meet whose weirdness is compatible and they join forces, they call it love. That's what love is. It is the highest form of friendship. It is finding someone who is your friend for life.
So this video generated 17.6 million views. And again, most people would stop here and be like, oh, I see what he's doing. He's just talking to the phone. I'm going to do that same thing. And they would ultimately fail. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take that next step together right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch 2 more videos from the same creator, Julian, same format, same account. One of these got millions of views, one of these, not so many. So we're going to watch these videos together, video 1 and video 2, and then I'm going to ask you which one you think performed better, and then I'm going to reveal the results and break down why.
Here's a simple sign that you have a true friend. And this is a simple rule about friendship that goes back to the author Isabel Allende, in which she writes, true friendship withstands time, distance, and silence. And what she meant is that a true friend has 3 things. 1, you're friends for life. Like, not just for a moment, for life. 2, you don't have to be in the same place. You may have grown up together but gone your separate ways. That matters nothing. And finally, number 3, you don't have to speak all the time. This one is crucial. True friends don't have to speak all the time. But when you do speak, it feels like no time has passed at all. And this is very similar to the quote about friendship from Elizabeth Foley, in which she says, "The most beautiful discovery true friends make is that they can grow separately without growing apart." That is a true friend, a friend for life. True friendship withstands time, distance, and silence.
Okay, so that's video 1. Let's watch video 2 and then start thinking about which one performed better and why.
Here's how you know that you have a bad friend, like a fake friend or a fair weather friend. And this goes back to a simple observation by the author Christian Nestle Bovee, who once wrote, "A bad friend is like a shadow, with you when the sun shines, but disappears when it gets dark." And what he meant is that a fake friend is somebody who likes to hang out when things are great, but they disappear when things get hard. A fake friend walks out of your life when you need them the most. And vice versa, a true friend is somebody who is with you at your darkest hour, somebody who comes precisely when you need them. And so a true friend is somebody who is there for you no matter what. They are loyal to a fault. But a bad friend, a fake friend, a fair weather friend is like a shadow, with you in the sun, but they disappear when it gets dark.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, you can't vote twice, because people sometimes vote twice, and there's a prize for those of you that get this right. So how many think it's video 1? Okay, hands down. How many think it's video 2? It's about even. So I'll reveal the prize at the end of the talk, so you better stick around. Okay, so video 1 did 54 million views. Video 2 did 276,000 views. That's a 19,456% increase. Nearly 200 times more value from just a few creative shifts. This is why we do this exercise. It's the exact same format, the exact same guy, and the exact same account using the exact same phone, and we have 53 million views in difference. So let's break down why. So what I'm going to walk through is called performance drivers. So these are the things that drive performance up and drive performance down. Now there's different performance drivers that work for different industries, or for different formats. But I'm going to break it down specific for this format. So the first one is called perspective shift. So video 1 offers a surprising take. Its true friends are maintained through silence. It challenges the viewer's assumption. Versus video 2, it's kind of a predictable message. Fake friends aren't there for you when you need them. It lacks that original insight. The next performance driver is delivery and credibility. The video 1 is confident, it's concise. It introduces the quote directly and calls it simple, making it accessible to everybody. Versus video 2, it's repetitive and insecure. It uses filler words, repeats the quote, and over-explains to try and seem intelligent. The next performance driver is the hook. So video 1, it's short, it's punchy, it gets to the point without lingering. Versus video 2, it starts strong but drags on with extra lines that dilutes the impact. And then the last performance driver, is viewer self-reflection and tension building. So video 1 builds a 3-part checklist. It's time, distance, silence. It encourages deep reflection and keeps viewers engaged, versus video 2 states one trait early on with no buildup and kills momentum and limits reflection. So can you guys see the difference between doing this and just looking at a viral video and say, oh, I see what they're doing, I'm just going to repeat it? Like, this is the power of understanding how and why stories break through. So just to do a little quick recap before we finish up, if you want consistent results, you need to tell a story that is worth hearing. Deliver it in a format that is repeatable, has a structured format, and again, analyze why it works. However, if you're missing this next piece, the whole thing can fall apart. So that's where we have created this hook point communication algorithm. It's based on 1.5 million communication assessment profiles done worldwide, and it turns communication into mathematical formula. It translates psychology into language and into actionable strategy. So this is a part of our process that's helped us generate over 60 billion views and 100 million followers. So as we look at this together, there are 6 different ways people can perceive you, your brand, your message, your content. And these are the things that will cause them to either be motivated to take the action that you want them to, or demotivate them to not take any action. So I'm going to break it down. So the largest subset of the population is feeling-based. This is 30%. They are going to make the determination if they're going to buy your products and services, follow your account, share your content, based upon how it emotionally makes them feel. The second largest subset of the population is fact-based. This is 25%. For them, it's not how it makes them feel, it's does this make sense? They want information, data, timeframes, who, what, when, where, why. 20% is fun. So they want humor, surprise, and playfulness. That's what pulls them in. 10% is value-based. For them is, can I trust you? Are you committed to me? Are you dedicated to me? And then 10% is imagination-based. So these people will reflect on the world. If any of you have seen the movie Oppenheimer, Albert Einstein's featured in that movie, and if you remember back into the movie, he's staring out at a lake. He's taking walks because he was this personality type. He would just reflect on the world around him. And then the smallest is action, 5%. So they want the bottom line. They want to move fast. They want to go, 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 go. The best example I could give you is if anybody has seen the movie Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, what is he doing? He's not feeling, he's not thinking, he's not talking about values. He's literally jumping off the side of buildings, hanging off the side of planes. That is their incidents. That's how what fuels them. So one of the biggest blind spots that we see in content strategy is most creators are creating content based upon how they see the world. So us as content creators, we have access to all 6, but we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. And we tend to only communicate from our strengths. And when we do that, we're literally missing out on 5 of the 6 communication styles. We're only communicating from 1, which means we disconnect from a vast majority of our audience. And I see this all the time. Brands and companies lose millions of dollars, leave millions of dollars on the table because they're not communicating effectively. So let me show you kind of like how we look at this with our clients. So the one on your left is an actual client profile. So when we work with clients, we actually have them take a deep communication assessment so that we can understand what their communication strengths and weaknesses are. So in this case, this person, as you see, the actions, the longest part, is their strength, and imagination is their weakness. So this person would be speaking from the standpoint of, move now, buy this is the best, go, 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 go. And with that language, they have the risk of alienating up to 95% of the population. And it's not their fault because they don't have the level of awareness. So what we do is give them that level of awareness so they can really diversify this. So to give you a quick example, I got brought in by a guy named Gary Keller, the founder of a real estate company, Keller Williams, and he had me do an analysis of all real estate marketing. And what I saw is almost all of the real estate marketing was fact-based, 25%. This bedroom has 5 bathrooms on an acre of land and 1,000 square feet. So how would I take that same house and diversify it? Well, I would still start with facts because it's 25% of the population. This house has 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and an acre of land. But did you check out that pool in the backyard? You are going to have the funnest and craziest parties, and all your neighbors are going to be super jealous. And this fireplace over here, imagine what it's going to feel like when your family is opening presents on Christmas Eve. And I firmly believe that this is the best house in the market for you because it's in the best school district. However, you should act now. Otherwise, this house is going to be off the market because it is the best one. So you see how I just quickly did that to diversify that language of a single house? Now, I want to look at another example. How many have you seen the movie Inside Out by Pixar? So Pixar doesn't just make brilliant movies, they actually have an emotional engine. They use a part of the communication algorithm, and let me show you what this looks like in real time.
Ever wonder why you feel the way you do? Well, get to know your emotions. When everything in your life is going your way, that's when joy takes control. This is joy. With an unstoppable spirit and unbeatable energy, joy brings a smile to your face and, oh, who cares? Let's party! When things go wrong, anger is there. This is anger. He will make sure the world knows anger is in control. But what you really need to watch out for is when he's out of control. When life gets you down, that's when sadness takes over. This is Sadness. With a caring touch and a kind heart, Sadness leaps into action to let you... I said Sadness leaps into action. Sadness? Oh, Sadness. When the unexpected is staring you in the face, Fear is there to keep you safe. With speed and wisdom, Fear assesses the situation and settles your nerves in his own special way. Sometimes life gets a little dirty. That's when Disgust takes over. This is Disgust. Whether advising on your social life or on life's little messes, Disgust is there to, well, hold on. Get to know all your emotions with Disney Pixar's Inside Out.
So when we build characters, or Pixar builds characters around this, they find a way to connect with everyone, whether it's a parent, a kid, a data-minded thinker, a creative dreamer. You can see yourself in the story, whether it was Sadness, which is the voice of feeling at 30%. She brings the emotional depth, connection, and care. Or you have Facts at 25%, which is the risk, the logic, the analytical thinking. And then we have Fun with Joy at 20%, where she has the energy, the optimism, the playfulness. She lights up the room. And then we have Disgust that represents values at 10%. So it's the social norms, the ethics, it's the personal standards. And then if you guys remember in the movie, you have Riley's imaginary friend, Bing Bong, which is 10%, which is imagination. And last but not least, you have Anger at 5%, where he channels that action, the goal-driven, the decisive, pushing for results. So there's literally a character that relates to everyone. Now, the amazing thing is Pixar has leveraged this model to create a billion-dollar brand. Imagine what you could do if you apply it to a 60-second video with your message. That's the power of all this. So to just wrap everything up of what we covered today, story has shaped history, culture, and belief systems, and always will. Everything that we see around us today was built by story. What makes content go viral is backed by data and analysis. This isn't guesswork, it's not playing the lottery. We talked about the format effect, how structure is the multiplier of a great story. And then finally, we broke down the psychology of communication and the reason why some messages land while others get ignored. So this is the science-backed system around storytelling that we've built at Hook Point to help you win the attention in this world that we live in today. Survival of the fittest.